Hello, good day, and welcome to a very beautiful edition of Learn with Zion Ose. Of course, you already know that learning is beautiful, learning is fun when you learn with Zion Ose. In case you have not subscribed, do well to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, share with your friends and family, just encourage us. And if you have done that, without any further ado, let's get down to brass tacks. The question on the board says, the man watched his son dash ping pong every Saturday last year. And this question was called from the University of Benin's Postutmi 2019. The options are as follows. Option A says playing, B, plays, C, played, ing-s, which is singular present, ed, which is past tense, and play, which is plural present, or the bare infinitive. And this question is on the topic bare infinitive. If you were given this question on the day of your examination, what would your answer be? Of course, I believe many of you are going to choose playing because ping pong is an action. Some of you are going to choose plays because the man watched his son, which is singular. Some of you are going to choose played because last year it's in the past. And some will choose play, of course, for whatever reason they choose. But the answer to this question will be explained or told to you at the end of this video. Quickly, let's analyze this. The topic here is bare infinitive. Of course, bare infinitive is a form of the verb. The English language has 5 inflectional forms of the lexical verb, which are base, then we have s, we have ing, we have ed1, ed2. All of these are inflectional. And then there is a last group, which is always added by some grammarians, which is a to infinitive. To infinitive is to plus base verb. So the base verb is the original form of the verb, original. It is called bare infinitive or plural present. So it is present, but used for plural nouns, or sorry, plural subjects. The S form is singular present, which is used for singular subject, singular present. The ing is present participle, which indicates an action in its continuous form, present participle. The ed1 is simple past tense, simple past, which simply shows an action in its past state or a state in its past. Then we have ed2, which is called past participle, and of course to infinitive remains to infinitive. I'll quickly give you 2 or 3 examples. Example, we have right, original state. The S form of right would be write. The ing form, of course, you guessed right, is writing. Please take notes, writing has just 1 T. And the ed1 is wrote. He wrote a letter. But when you have an auxiliary, refer back to our video on past questions part 1. I explained this. When you have past participles, then you have auxiliaries. For instance, he has written. So we have written as a past participle. Of course, to infinitive is to or to, to, the original pronunciation, plus the base verb, which is to write. To write. So we have more examples like drive. We have drive. We have drives. We have driving, drove, driven, and to drive. We have give, gives, giving, give, given, to give. We have eat, eats, eating, ate, eating, and to eat. We have see, we have sees, we have seen, we have saw, we have seen, and to see. All of these are examples of the forms of the verb. And now we are going to pay attention to the first one, which is called the bare infinitive, otherwise the base form. What does it mean to be bare? To be bare means to be at the lowest level, the minimal level. For instance, we say bare minimum. Please take note, this is an idiom, bare minimum, not barest minimum. So we have the bare minimum, for instance, which means the lowest level. And the lowest level, or the original form of the verb, is the bare infinitive. If I give you these 2 verbs, knows and know, which do you think is bare? This is S form. It has been inflected to show singularity, but this is the original state. Therefore, this verb is bare. Now, having said that, now we'll quickly understand something, that the bare infinitive form is a non-finite form, which means it's not affected by the number, neither is it affected by time. It's a non-finite form. Other non-finite include ing, ed2, and to infinitive. They are not affected by time, neither are they affected by number. For instance, I'll use ing. She is dancing. What shows singularity here is so that if I change she to they, I'll have they are dancing. Dancing will not be affected. So if I change this to yesterday, I'll have they were. Yesterday, dancing remains dancing. Or I could say she has given it a thought. If I change she to they will become they have. If I change this to maybe yesterday, I could say they had given it a thought yesterday. Of course, given remains, which makes it non-finite. So the bare infinitive form is also non-finite in this context. Now, quickly, when do we use bare infinitive of the verb? The bare infinitive form is used when there is a subject performing an action plus a verb. I'll list out the verbs, and then there is now an object. But after this object, there is a clause, which means there is another verb, a clause. A clause. Do not be bothered, I'm going to explain everything. There is a clause after the object. This is the object. This is the object. For instance, she saw, she is the subject. She saw, which is what? The verb. Me as the object. And then I have a clause here. She saw me take the book. She saw me take the book. Do you understand this concept? I could say, my mother heard her dash the story. My mother heard her dash the story. So, of course, I have my mother as the subject, heard as the verb, her as the object, and this is a clause. That is when you have the bare infinitive. Now, what verbs will determine the bare infinitive? Of course, there are certain kinds of verbs that come after the subject where you have bare infinitive. What verbs will determine bare infinitive? The first example is let. So when you have a subject or there is no subject, it begins with let as a verb, and then there is an object, let plus object. The next verb, next immediate verb, the next verb, that's actually redundant, but the next immediate after, I don't know how to explain this, but the verb that immediately follows, I think I've laid enough emphasis, must be bare, must be bare. Exactly, we have questions like, he lets, of course, this is the subject, and this works with this guy, so it can take S. He let his son. Here, his son is the object, which means anything after this works with his son and must be bare. So he lets his son behave. He lets his son behave, not behaves as he. Now we now have a new subject, likes, takes S. He lets his son behave as he likes. Another example, he lets his daughter knows everything she wants. If I give you this sentence, you'll observe that something is wrong here. He is the subject, let is the verb, his daughter is the object. No here is wrong because this as the object is going to condition this verb to become bare, which is a non-finite verb. So I cannot say, knows. I cannot say he lets his daughter knows. Rather, I would say he lets his daughter know everything but she wants. Yes. Another example, they let their father eat junk. They let their father eat junk, not eats. They let their father eat junk. So the first example of the verb that will take the bare infinitive is let. Let. Number two, we have one, let. Number two, we have verbs of perception. Verbs of perception. Verbs of perception. Examples include here. We have here, we have see, of course, and their forms. We have notice, and we have watch. So verbs of perception will always take the bare infinitive. I'll give you a context where they wouldn't take bare infinitive. Verbs of perception. Example, we saw Ifweko dash the eggs against the wall. Now here, we is the subject. The action performed here is saw. The The verb here, or the main verb here, is saw. So we have SV. Ifweko here is the object. This verb that follows Ifweko, because saw is a verb of perception, this verb here would be bear. So we say we saw Ifweko smash, not smashes, not smashed, not smashing. So we saw Ifweko smash the egg against the wall. Then we have another example, as was given in the question. He watches his son play, not play ping pong. He watches his son play ping pong every Saturday. I could say he watched his son play ping pong every Saturday, which means the answer to that question is option D. So we have that. And then number 3, number 1, we have let's. Number 2, we have verbs of perception. And number 3, we have make. Any object that comes after make, if there is a verb following, that verb must be bear. Example, she made me. Here, she is the subject, made is the verb, me. Of course, made is a form of make. She made me dash it. A, do. B, doing. C, to do. You might be tempted to choose to do because this is what a lot of us are familiar with. But because of this made here, this guy must be conditioned to be bear. So we say, she made me do it. Another example, my grandmother's story makes me laugh. She made me cry. She made me dance. They made me laugh. They made me fight. My brother makes me stay up late at night every day. My brother makes me stay up late at night every day. So for bare infinitive again, bare infinitive is the original form. That is the form without S, the form without ed, the form without ing, and it is always present and it is plural. So it doesn't take S, ed, ing, or anything. So that is bare infinitive, and it comes after number 1, let. Number 2, make. Number 3, we have verbs of perception, verbs of perception, verbs of perception, verbs of perception. Now, quickly, before we move on, they might give you questions like this. Number 1, they will say, he saw the girl dash over the fence. A, jump. B, jumped. C, jumping. D, jumps. Now, if you were given a question like this, he is the subject, so is the verb, girl is the object, then the right verb here would be A, which is a bare infinitive. So the answer to this question is jump. However, although it has never been tested by various examination bodies, because you cannot always determine the state of that action. However, if that action is progressive, which means the action is still continuous, then you can use ing. Example, while coming to school this morning, I saw Derulo walking. And I did not witness the entire action. Of course, when you use bare infinitive, it means you saw the complete action. So it's usually used in context of a very quick or fast action. So Derulo was walking this morning and I saw him. So I could say, I saw Derulo walking this morning. I saw Derulo walking this morning, which means I witnessed that action. Of course, this rule is peculiar to verbs like saw or verbs like hear, and sometimes watch. Although in standard English, watch usually takes the bare infinitive. So I could say, I saw Derulo walking this morning. I could also say, my mother said she saw she saw Hannah dancing in the rain. Which means that this action here is continuous. The action was not concluded. My mother only saw a bit of it. Again, if they give you a question with this and you have ing, there is saw, there is witness, there is saw, there is notice, there is heard, there is watch. Please always choose the bare infinitive. That is the first point. So remember that if the action is progressive, you can use the ing. I'll give you a very classical example, which they've never tested, but they could give you a question like this. He saw the snake dash around the bush path. Of course, you know that in context like this, it is dash around, so we could say option A, crawl, B, crawling. This context here means that the action is slow and you can actually witness a bit of it. So it is moving in circles. So you could say he saw the snake crawling. But they would usually give you questions like this. He saw the snake dash into, which is not problematic because we know that into here is a complete action. It shows the end of the destination. So we say he saw the snake crawl into the bush path. That is the first point. Number two, or point two, you should also understand that if there is no action performed by the object, no action performed, and the object is in a state of rest or inaction, it means that the subject did not witness the entire action. So the verb that follows should be ing. I'll explain. I am walking and there is a 20 naira note on the floor. 20 naira note on the floor. So I will say, I saw a. I here is the subject, saw is the verb, 20 naira note, a 20 naira note is the object, dash on the floor, If I use the bare infinitive lie, what it means is that I saw the 20 naira note come to that place and then it lay down, which doesn't make sense. So here, I am not going to use the bare infinitive. Rather, I'm going to use the ing because this object, 20 naira note, is in a state of rest or inaction. So I will say, I saw a 20 naira note lying on the floor. Please, lying is wrong spelling. So this is the correct spelling for lying. So another example could be, the witness said he saw the man's remains lying, not lie, in a pool of blood. So this is the second point. Of course, remember that if the object is in a state of rest or inaction, you use the ing instead of the bare infinitive. But now, Utme can be very tricky. In 2020, the COVID year, they tested this question. They said, this meeting will enable us dash the way forward. A, discuss. B, discuss about. C, to discuss. And option D, to discuss about. Now, the first thing that we must do is to eliminate options. In our first video on past questions by University of Benin and Delsu, other schools please can also use it. We discussed that some verbs do not take prepositions. Verbs like comprise cannot take of. Verbs like stress does not take on. Verbs like leverage does not take on. Request does not take for. Emphasize does not take on. Demand does not take for. etc. That discuss does not take about, which means that all the verbs with about are out. All the options with about. So you don't discuss about. You simply discuss. You don't discuss about, you simply discuss. So we are left with A and C. Now, you would be tempted because enable here, and then this meeting is the subject, will enable is the verb, us here is the object, then the verb that follows should be bare infinitive. Please make no mistakes. In context like this, always remember that enable as a verb is not a part of this group. Therefore, enable, just like allow, they are normal verbs, they are transitive verbs that only take to infinitive. So you say, this meeting will enable us discuss the way forward would be wrong. So rather say, this meeting will enable us to discuss the way forward. Another example, this class here, or Zion's class, will enable you to pass your exam more easily. I hope you have learned something today. Please do not forget to share, do not forget to like, and do not forget to subscribe. Love you.